I was younger, there was an abandoned building at the end of our street. All the kids kept away from it because rumors say it's haunted. The concrete walls of the old two-story building were cracked. The windows were broken and shards of glass lay all over the floor. One evening, my best friend and I decided to explore the creepy old place. We climbed in through a window at the back of the building. The whole place was dirty and there was a layer of mud on the wooden floor. We looked up and were shocked to see that someone had written the words "I am dead" on the wall near the ceiling. Probably just some teenagers trying to scare kids, I said. Yeah, probably, replied my friend nervously. We explored more of the rooms on the ground floor. In a room that appeared to be a kitchen, we found more writing on the wall. It read, "I am in a room upstairs." We walked up the creaking stairs to the second floor. I led the way and my friend followed close behind. When we came to the top of the stairs, we turned left and walked cautiously down the narrow hallway. At the end of the hallway was a closed door with some more ominous writing on it. "You will find me in this room." By now, my friend was shaking with fear. I was creeped out too, but I didn't want to show it. He told me he didn't want to go any further, but I insisted, telling him there was nothing to be afraid of. I turned the handle and the door creaked open. We stepped into the room and found it empty. There were two closed doors on either side. There was more creepy writing on the wall. It read, "My head is on the left and my body is on the right." As soon as my friend saw this, he completely lost his nerve. He gave a yelp and turned to run away. I caught hold of his arm, but he shook me off and fled out through the open door. I heard his footsteps disappearing down the hallway. I was determined to be brave and overcome my fear. Mustering all my courage, I opened the door on the right and walked inside. I walked to the other side of the room and on the wall, written in tiny letters were the words, "My body is underneath." I looked down at the floor. I was standing on some more writing on the floorboards. I stepped back and saw the words, "My head is coming from the room behind you." I heard the door behind me creaking and quickly turned. There was a shadow moving behind the door. Suddenly something rolled into the room and came to a rest against the wall. It was my friend's severed head. His dead, sightless eyes seemed to stare at me. Screaming in horror, I flung myself out through the open window and fell 2 stories to the ground. I ran home, crying and yelling for my parents. The police were called and they searched the building. At first, they didn't find anything. There wasn't even any writing on the wall. They combed the house from top to bottom, but didn't find any traces of my friend. There were 3 boys who loved watching horror movies. One day, one of the boys received a parcel in the mail. There were no stamps on the mysterious package and no name or address was written on the front. The boy had no idea who it was from. When he opened the parcel, he found a DVD inside. There was no cover on the case and no title on the disc. He thought his friends might be playing a joke on him, so he took the DVD and went out to meet the other boys. When he arrived at their house, he asked them about the mysterious DVD, but they said they had nothing to do with it. They invited him inside to watch it and see what was on it. When they sat down on the sofa and pressed play on the DVD player, they were surprised at what they saw on the screen. There was a creepy clown standing in a room. There was a bed on his left and a closet on his right. He was holding 2 red balloons and staring into the camera. Then, some weird music started playing and the clown began dancing and jumping around. He was jerking and shaking his body all around the room. All the while, his clown face was fixed in a wide, menacing grin. He looked insane and his behavior was bizarre. 2 of the boys thought it was hilarious and started laughing out loud. After a while, they noticed that the 3rd boy was very quiet. When they turned to look at him, they could see that his face was white as a sheet and his eyes were wide in terror. "What's the matter with you?" they asked. "Why aren't you laughing?" The boy replied in a weird voice, "That's my bedroom." One night, a man had a nightmare. It was the most frightening thing he had ever experienced. In the dream, he found himself walking in a desert. Somehow, he had no idea how he had gotten there, but he knew he was lost and alone. When he looked down, he realized he was carrying a machete in his hand. The long, cold steel blade looked razor-sharp. The sun was beating down and the heat was intense. The man was sweating profusely, but he kept walking, even though he had no idea where he was going. After some time, he saw a dark figure crouching down in the distance. As he approached, he saw that it was a person, lying in the sand. He had been feeling extremely lonely, so he was grateful to see another human being. He quickly ran up to the man and bent over to help him up. However, when he turned the man over, he took one look at his face and recoiled in horror. He was looking at himself. In that instant, he was so overcome with fear that he raised the machete above his head and, without thinking, hacked the man to death. Horrified by what he had just done, he dropped the weapon and started running through the desert, trying to get away as far away from the place as possible. With every step, his feet sank further into the sand, but he kept on going, driven by terror and panic. Eventually, he stumbled and fell to the ground. Lying in the sand, he realized that he had sprained his ankle. He couldn't walk another step. There was nothing he could do except lie there where he had fallen. After a while, he looked up and saw something in the distance. It was the figure of a man, approaching across the wide expanse of desert. As the man approached, he waited until he could see his face clearly. To his horror, he realized it was himself, and in his hand, he was carrying a razor-sharp machete.